Good evening, Bucknutters. Welcome to What We Learned Live following Ohio State's 56-0 win over visiting Western Michigan. That's what we're talking about. That's what we like to see. Talking about wanting to see Ohio State look like a dominant force. That is what we saw tonight. Welcome to the show. Appreciate everybody joining me. We're going to be joined by Heath Schneider, a.k.a. Heater. In about 15 minutes, we'll be joined by Patrick Murphy and Steve Helwagen from Ohio Stadium after postgame interviews. And, just so much good stuff to get into. I'll get into some of your questions. We wanted them to start fast, and they did. We learned that they were not messing around. I mean, they came out. Chip Kelly was an RPO madman to start out. The RPO with looks like Will Howard just doing that QB sweep to the left. Or he's going to throw to G. Scott, or he's going to throw to Carnell Tate. RPO. And then as soon as they adjust to that, they go over the middle. And it was just a little bit of everything. They were so vanilla against Akron. And maybe Chip would say, we'll hear. Maybe we'll know after we hear the post-game press conference. Maybe Chip will say they were still vanilla tonight. They didn't seem very vanilla. And, we can't bury the lead here. This is a team, Western Michigan, that led Wisconsin in Madison in the fourth quarter last week. Not that Wisconsin is a great team by any means. But Western Michigan led them in Madison last week. It was a fluky play. It was a punt. Not to bring up the 1998 Michigan State game or anything, Nate Clements, but it was a punt that were hit off the back of a guy, and then Wisconsin picked it up and then went in from there. But my point is, to beat this team 56-0, that's impressive. If you saw it coming, I hope you put your money where your mouth was. Ohio State was a 37-point favorite, and they went 56-0. It could have been worse. So much fun. So, everything. I just love everything about this. Cody Simon getting his start with the zero. That was good seeing him coming right out. They get a 3-and-out. Cody Simon gets the sack. You get Austin Seiverveld now, 2 starts under his belt. I think they'll get Donovan Jackson back for Marshall. Tyleik Williams and Caden McDonald. Those guys look like they're twin brothers. I know they're not, but my God. Come on, give me some of that. I love how they're listed at like 327 pounds. Let me tell you, listen, if Caden McDonald and Tyleik Williams are under 330 pounds, then I'm 7 feet tall. And I love it. They're at least 350, and I love it because they move well. I love my big boys up front. Will Howard's looking good. Is he perfect? No, but he's exactly what I want to see. We keep learning that Will Howard's what I want to see. Again, can't say enough about Caden McDonald. We keep learning Caden McDonald for a backup defensive tackle. Are you kidding me? Ty Hamilton was good as well. Those 3 guys, Ty Hamilton, Tyleik Williams, Caden McDonald, let's go. So Will Howard started this game 10 of 10. Not bad. Ohio State's up 21-0 after the first quarter. What was the complaints last week were what? Offensively. Slow start, didn't run the ball well. Tonight, smashed them from the start, ran the ball great. Travion Henderson, man, he's got such a great burst. Quinshon Judkins showing you why everybody picked him as like an All-American and maybe the number 1 running back off the board in the draft. And Jay Peeps, as the kids call him, James Peoples looking good out there as the number 3 back. Really like him. We keep learning that. We keep learning that Jeremiah Smith is ridiculous. I keep hearing the Julio Jones comparisons. He does body type look like Julio Jones. Watch him after the catch. Who does he look like? Jamar Chase. He looks like Jamar Chase, 4 inches taller, 15 pounds heavier, just as fast, maybe faster. I'm saying this as a huge Jamar Chase fan. He is Jamar Chase taller. He's not Julio Jones. Julio Jones, fantastic. Jeremiah Smith is Jamar Chase taller. Watch him after he catches the ball. He looks exactly like Jamar Chase. And I don't say that lightly. You're saying I'm saying Randy Moss wrong. I don't know, man. I'm seeing more. Randy Moss. Whatever. If he's Randy Moss, let's go with that. But after he catches the ball, he reminds me a lot of Jamar Chase. Just watch, even when he goes out of bounds with the one hand, just everything. It's a lot. There's a lot of Jamar Chase there. And he's really, really, really good. All right, let's get through. I do want to get to your comments and questions. Ryan Day, I love that he's pissed off at little stuff, up by 49 points. Like, what? People are like, why is he so mad? Like, I love that. Love that. Ryan Day came into the press conference last Tuesday just focused, not laughing at anything. Sometimes reporters will kind of joke, myself included, maybe. I'm not a huge one to do that, but like I'll do it every once in a while, get a smile out of Coach Day or whatever. There were some quips. He wasn't smiling for anything on Tuesday. He came in there serious as heck. I love it. By the way, my friends, Aaron Scott can play some football. They're so deep at corner, they don't need him this year, but Aaron Scott Jr., mm-hmm. Yes. Julian saying that was really cool to see that. Get his first touchdown, 4th down. Love that. Bennett Christian. Not too bad. Julian Sand makes his debut with 7 minutes and 6 seconds left in the 4th quarter of his second game. Okay, this defense is nasty. I've talked a lot about the offense. I've talked a little bit about the defense. This defense is nasty. Absolutely nasty. I mean, this is I need to watch more. I watched Georgia last week. I did not see them today. They're playing, I think, NIA team again today. I don't know, but not again. They obviously did. Clemson's not an NIA team. They're more like a Division II team. But I digress. I think they're playing an NIA team today. But Georgia, I'm sure they have a tremendous defense. I can't. If there's anybody else that has a defense that compares to Ohio State, let me know. These guys are they're deep. They're dangerous. Okay. I've been so like peaches and rose. College football replay officials, like they're never late. That train is never late. There's no way that was targeting. The running back lowers his head first. In no way is he defenseless. In no way was that launching. That was not targeting. Wasn't called targeting on the field. They bring Dean Blandino in. He's like, nah, that's not targeting. Anybody, like myself included, I'm like looking at, in my opinion, not targeting. So again, not called on the field. Replay official says not targeting. All of us probably not targeting, yet replay official / command center targeting. What are we doing? Not that we're not used to it. Jeez, my gosh. So we've learned a lot of stuff. Travion Henry, I just love this. I love this entire roster. All right, let's get to some comments and questions here because we're going to hear from Heater quickly, or maybe not quickly. Is there a better quarterback than Will Howard? I don't know. I mean, maybe Cam Ward. I'll take Will Howard, though. I'll take Will Howard. Eddie's fired up about Julian Sand. That was good to see Julian Sand. Tight ends getting some catches. Seeing Jelani Thurman out there a lot. G. Scott getting that first catch of the game, first play of the game, that RPO. Bam. Eddie asking me, Dave, has C.J. Hicks fallen on the depth chart? Reese has been balling. Yeah, I mean, C.J. Hicks to me is going to be like a guy they bring in when they need to do certain things. He's a great blitzer, but has he fallen a little bit? Probably. Has Arvell Reese moved up? Yes. Yeah, I love Arvell Reese. So, all right. It's pretty good. Ken Stein with the yeah. I have him on 94 with 99. I had it at 94 yards total offense for Western Michigan. Oh, that was at half. I'm sorry. You're right. It was 99. That was at halftime. Jeez. Unbelievable. All right. Any further questions? I'm going to bring in Heater in just a moment. I do want to get any further questions before I bring him in. Special teams needs work. Fair. I do like McGuire, though, which was interesting because all offseason was like, who's it going to be as the punter? Is it going to be McLarty? Is it going to be Veneri? It's going to be McLarty. I agree with Sue here. She says, I love this game tonight, clicking in all phases. That's exactly right. It felt like it was like a perfect game. Perfect. They were favored by 37. They won 56-0, and they took their foot off the gas for the entire second half. He's saying, LOL, it's Western Michigan. Right. I mean, But like obviously Chad on Facebook, I'm sure knowing that Ohio State was going by 56 when they're only favored by 37, that you put your money where your mouth is, right? I'm sure you did. The same Western Michigan team that was leading Wisconsin 14-13 in the fourth quarter in Madison last week. All right, let's bring in my boy, my man in Amsterdam, Heath Schneider.
My man.
You, my friend.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Was that not like exactly what you wanted to see?
That was just about perfect. Truly, it was rather amazing to watch that game unfold. And a couple of things I noticed. One, I think Chip Kelly had a completely better game in play calling than he did last week. Some of his plays that he called, and not just the design of the play, but the order in which he called them. I thought coming out firing and passing at the beginning, it reminded me a little bit of the Rose Bowl against Oregon. What was that? 2009, 2010-ish.
Yeah, 2010. Yep.
Yeah. When everybody thought for sure we'd come out running and we just came out firing, and that same kind of thing happened. I thought that was fantastic. I thought the play design on the 70-yard touchdown by JJ was fantastic, where you saw the sweep to the left with play action and two receivers go to the right. All he had to do was pick the right one. All Will Howard had to do was pick the right guy. And he did. And it was a fantastic play design and extremely well executed. I thought the good stuff for Howard was well, let me cover the bad stuff for Howard. The duck that he launched, clearly the ball slipped out of his hand. That happens. I get it, right? Last week he had the brain cramp where he tossed that long lateral and he messed that up. Okay. Don't make your mental errors. The physical errors are going to happen because, nobody's perfect. I will tell you, I'm officially on board with Will Howard, and I'm a Will Howard believer. Watching him with his fire, watching him, how he can move in the pocket and doesn't panic under pressure. And all he has to do is play within himself. All he has to do is distribute the ball, which he did very well. By the time he left the game, JJ had 5 receptions and Emeka had 5 receptions. Beautiful play calling by Chip. Had by the time they left the game, had Judkins with 9 carries and had Trey with 10 carries. They're distributing the ball, and don't forget Tate. Tate had 3 catches as well. So he's getting the ball all around. There's only one ball to give, and he's spreading it around so everybody's happy. It's a beautiful day. That was a fantastic offensive play calling set by him throughout the game. There were only a couple ones I would look and say, "Oh, I don't know about that."
Now let's go defense, because we could just there's just so many flowers to give out. I mean, the defense is just, geez. This is the best defense in college football, my man.
Well, welcome back to the lineup, Cody Simon. I mean, he launched right from the beginning. Watching them play and watching them play fired up was fantastic. I don't think you can say enough about what Caleb Downs brings to this. He is always playing downhill. He is always rushing to the ball.
Caleb Downhill. I like it.
Caleb
Downhill.
I like it.
You did it. I didn't do it. You did it.
It is fantastic to watch, and it's no wonder he led Alabama in tackles last year. He's got a nose for the ball, and he is a solid tackler, a big hitter. Fantastic to watch. Elsewhere on defense, the defensive line, I think, played with a little more fire this week. I still want to hear more out of JTT, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So much.
If there's one guy I want to hear more from, it's JTT, and you just everybody in Buckeye Nation is salivating still from the second half or the fourth quarter he had against Penn State 2 years ago. And where is the follow-up to that, man? I want that consistently. I know you can't sack everybody on every play, but boy, man, you got to show up more often than once every 2 years.
It's true. So let's talk about Michigan a little bit.
No, let's do that.
My gosh. I knew pain was coming their way, and then I saw like the spread had moved from 7.5 to 6.5 this morning. I'm like, what? Money's going Michigan's way? Like, this is not going to go well for them.
No.
And it went even worse than I thought it was going to go. Texas just destroyed them.
I had it at like 30. I figured it'd be somewhere around 28 points, maybe 33 points, somewhere in there. And I was generous. I gave them like 14 to 17 points, right? If that is who they have to use as the quarterback, how bad must Orgy be? Right?
Right.
I mean, when you think about Orgy, the guy, as I recall, did not complete 50% of his balls in high school.
Right.
I don't know how they would have thought, hey, we can develop that guy here. We can make this guy the guy that we need to have. And everybody knew pain was coming their way when you lose all your offensive linemen. You lose basically the whole coaching staff. You lose McCarthy, which say what you want about him. I don't think he's worthy of a top 10 draft pick, but somebody in the NFL did. So let's say he is because he was. When you lose all that, you lose your leading rusher, you lose your leading pass, your wideout. Like, you're gonna feel that pain. It reminds me of Ohio State going from 98 into 99, and Brent Musburger at the opening game against Miami saying, the Buckeyes don't, they just reload, right? Well, there's no ammunition for them to reload into on that offense. It's terrible. It's awful.
Very bad. You know what's not awful is I look at this total yardage heater.
Yeah.
683 for Ohio State, 99 for Western Michigan. I initially wrote down 94. That was the first half yardage was 94 for Western Michigan. Pretty good. Only limiting them to 94 yards in the first half. Pretty good. Yeah. About 5 yards total in the second half. Unbelievable. I love it. I'm a stat nerd. I love stuff like this. 683 for Ohio State, 99 for Western Michigan in total yards. I can't wait to look at the national statistics Monday morning.
0 first downs in the second half, 6 for the game. That's incredible. That 683 is reminiscent of the same kind of thing as the 05 Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame. All those big scoring plays, like what we had eight touchdowns. Is that what it was? 8 touchdowns. Half of them went for more than 20 yards. That very reminiscent of all those big plays that came against Notre Dame. When Ohio State left probably 17 to 21 points on the field that night. They could have really, really walloped Notre Dame. Same kind of thing here, much lesser opponent. I thought they were going to be better than Akron. They clearly were not. And I agree with what you said in kind of the pregame before I came on. Show me a better defense out there in the nation right now. I don't know who it is. You keep any team below 100 points or 100 yards total for the game, and you're racking up 683. I don't know that I've ever seen that big a differential. That's almost a 600-yard difference in total yards. That's crazy. That's madness.
I know Wisconsin's not good, but like there's average. And Western Michigan's picked 4th in the MAC by Phil Steele. Western Michigan was leading Wisconsin in Madison last week in the fourth quarter. I mean, they didn't blow out like the worst team in the MAC tonight. They blew out like a decent team, like not decent team as far as like Power 4 standards, but man, I mean, this is exactly what I wanted to see, Heater. Exactly what I wanted to see.
Oh, absolutely. And you got out of the game clean, no injuries that I saw, which was the hugest thing. Let me ask you a question, Dave. You mentioned Michigan earlier. What's worse? Is it the Michigan loss to Texas, which everybody probably saw coming, or that Notre Dame loss to another directional school?
I was also going to bring up the Notre Dame loss. I'm glad you brought this up. What is worse? the loss itself has to be Notre Dame, right?
Yeah,
the way
like
I didn't see the game though. The
In grand
way
scheme of
Michigan
things,
looked. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
in the grand scheme of things, like it's the biggest upset that Notre Dame's ever had, right? And the biggest win ever for Northern Illinois. But like aside from Michigan fan base, nobody was rooting for Michigan today. Everybody is rooting against Michigan.
Right.
They can wear the shirts, and it's true because everybody realizes that they did cheat in the past, and they got to get they'll have their comeuppance at some point. But nobody's rooting for them anymore outside the fan base. Other teams, you sit there and say, "Oh, when I watch Notre Dame, I don't actively root against them." I don't root for them necessarily, but if I'm casually watching a game of Michigan, yeah, I'm actively rooting against them. And I think that's kind of the way it is for most of the rest of the nation right now.
I'm totally with you, man. I've never hated Notre Dame like at all. Maybe it's because Ohio State's never lost to them in my lifetime. Might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Could play a role. But you're right. Like, I mean, I was raised. My dad used to wear the shirt. Everybody's dad probably had the shirt. My two favorite teams are Ohio State and whoever's playing Michigan. Was that not truer than today? I mean, I was at like my daughter's tennis tournament this morning. We were all like, hook 'em, we're all this is like, woo, like hook 'em. Like Matthew McConaughey, all right.
All right.
I mean, good stuff. You need to get out of here. I can let you out of here, my man.
I'm free for whatever you need, man. I got nothing else on the docket today.
I do want to talk about the Notre Dame. Like, to finish your question, I do feel like clearly the loss is worse for Notre Dame than Michigan. Clearly.
Yes.
You lose to Texas, even at home. This is a really good Texas team.
Yep.
Happened in 2005 to a really good Ohio State team. I thought Ohio State outplayed Texas, though, in that game, and it was a fluke. What happened today to Michigan? If you're a Michigan fan, you need to be really concerned because you got your ass whooped, and it wasn't a fluke. In fact, it should have been worse. That first touchdown, I didn't think that was holding. They called that first touchdown off the board.
Agreed.
Texas came out there and just whooped their ass in every fashion. This is going to be a long year for Michigan. Heater, I see them losing at least 4 games in the regular season. They already got one. Ohio State, Oregon, USC. That's 4.
So you said Texas, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, right?
Probably one more. I don't know.
Yeah. Do they have Nebraska on their schedule?
I wish I had my schedule right here.
Because Nebraska has a good chance of coming into meeting us undefeated. And I'll take a quick look just because
schedule. I got it here.
Yeah.
They do not play Nebraska.
They dodged it then.
They play Oregon, Minnesota. Listen, it doesn't even matter. Like, they already lost to Texas. They're going to lose to USC, in my opinion. They'll lose to Oregon, although Oregon's not looking like any world beater.
No, they aren't.
Ohio State. They're going to be 8-4.
So you could throw in, just because it's a West Coast trip, you got to go all the way to Washington. You never know what happens on a long West Coast trip. Never, And I'm not saying Washington's great, but things get wonky on those West Coast swings.
People are saying that Penn State's going to beat them. They don't play Penn State, my friends. I know it's weird, right?
Isn't it?
Like, what do you mean Penn State and Michigan don't play? I know it's weird. They don't play.
Welcome to the new Big Ten.
That's right.
It's a crazy world we're living in, and I don't think Michigan State is world beaters, and there's clearly a talent gap there, but who knows what happens with that? I mean, they're coming off that whooping from last year, 49-0, and they certainly would want to have some sort of revenge from that. And who knows, if you're sitting there thinking in the next few weeks they lost to Michigan, in 2 weeks they'll lose to USC. They could lose to Washington. You could have 3 going at the same time, and throw in if the NCAA, if they have responded or settled with the NCAA at that point, people could just be chucking and flushing the season. And remember to flush twice. It's a long way to Ann Arbor.
North until you smell it, west till you step in it. Another fun shirt that we grew up. Oregon's losing? Oh, geez. To Boise?
Are they?
Yeah, 17-14 in the second quarter.
Did you see
Leeds, Oregon? This is 2 straight weeks. We could blow off the first week like, maybe Idaho's good first week. Maybe Idaho's like the best team in FCS.
Yeah, right.
Now, this is, you know what? Dan Lanning, and I've talked him up too, very cocky coming into this year. Maybe they'll still back it up.
Well,
but
I heard
like a little over cockiness out of Oregon.
I heard they're that team out west.
That team out west.
That's great. That was so funny watching them wanting to be called that, begging to have a rivalry of some sort, and you're like, no, try earning it. Yeah, did you? What happened in the? I didn't see what happened at the end of the Alabama game. I know that they started pulling away, but that was tighter than it should have been. It was 14-13 in the fourth, right?
They did. Yeah, it was tight in the fourth quarter with Alabama. Nobody's looking good other than Georgia and Ohio State.
Yeah.
I know Ohio State. People are like, oh, Ohio State didn't look good last week. They won 52-6. Right. They didn't look good for one quarter last week, and then they just destroyed Akron after that. And how they look against Western Michigan. Again, favored by 37, they win 56-0.
99 yards.
A lot worse than that.
28 yards rushing. Less than a yard per rush.
They got 99 problems, and football ain't one.
No, I would say not. And meanwhile, the Buckeyes averaged 9.5 yards per play.
Pretty good.
That's crazy good. That is absolutely crazy good. By the way, I know you're going to bring other people on here, but I wanted to circle back real quick to Judkins and Henderson. We talked Peoples last week. His touchdown run, Peoples.
Yes.
What great vision by him once he got into open space and chose the right lane to go to get the touchdown. If he goes left instead of right there, he's tackled at the 5. Just a wonderful choice and vision there. It was great to watch. We didn't even talk Sayin, by the way. What a beautiful couple of throws. I'm ready.
Man. He's the guy next year, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's the future. He's absolutely the future. His QBR, 521. 521. He's the guy. Put him in now. He's starting.
There you go. Will Howard, you got competition, brother. Heater, thank you so much, my friend. I kept you longer than I intended, but man, this is a great conversation. What a great win for the Buckeyes. Thank you so much. My man in Amsterdam, Heath Schneider, a.k.a. Heater. Get on Bucknuts. Read his immediately after the game analysis. Thanks, Heater.
All right, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
He is Heath Schneider. Heater's been with us a long time on Bucknuts, going back like about 20 years, almost as long as I've been on the site. Heater's been on our site. And then it didn't take us long to bring him on as a contributor because you can see why. He's got he was in the Air Force at the time, active duty. We still brought him on as a contributor because he was that good. Bring him on via Skype from like Afghanistan. Not joking. I don't even know what this is in reference to, Eddie. He said, great take, Heater. You can probably say that about anything he just said. Andrew wants to know about the Pickerington North running back. Yeah, Sam Williams-Dixon looked good late. That was good seeing him in there. You get the 4th string running back in there. Love that. Ann Arbor Buckeye. Oh, man. You want to talk about everybody who lives in Michigan who's an Ohio State fan is like, I'm behind enemy lines. Like, dude, you're in Ann Arbor. My sister and brother-in-law are huge Ohio State fans. Like, they both went to Bowling Green, and then my sister's first job out of college was in Ypsilanti. And not her first job. Her first really good job was in Ypsilanti, Michigan at Domino's. So they lived in Ypsilanti, Michigan, so pretty much spitting distance from Ann Arbor. Dude, you're in Ann Arbor. You are behind enemy lines for sure. Ann Arbor Buckeye, YouTube. He says, I agree. Brown is who he is. Sayin's potential is through the roof. Yeah. And Brown didn't look bad to me, but Sayin is definitely better right now, in my opinion. Right now. We have Delaware Hayes' JV coach reaching out. No, this is not real. This is Hummus Hero saying, I don't think Davis Warren could start for Delaware Hayes' JV squad. Yeah, but they have a really good JV squad, though. I'm kidding. Rick on YouTube, Montoya Sands should be quarterback too. You know what, Rick? I think he probably is. I think if something happened, hopefully nothing happens, and if there was a big game, I think Ryan Day agrees with you. I think Ryan Day probably agrees with you. Who is Mason Maggs? He is the walk-on 6th string quarterback from Dublin Kaufman. Dad was an offensive lineman at Ohio State. That's who Mason Maggs is. Jeremy on X. I love that we have Facebook, YouTube, and X all in the house here with the live questions. The Jaden Ballard experiment has to be over at this point, says Jeremy on X. I mean, he's a 4th-year junior. He's not getting out there at all offensively when the game's on the line. What's that tell you? He was the punt returner last year. He's not anymore. They're giving him they're throwing him like a bone with the kick return, which kick return's not important. Punt return is. Kick return's not really anymore, especially when they're sitting there like calling fair catches almost at half the time. I mean, that's not accurate. Like 80% of the time, 85% of the time, they're calling fair catches on kickoff. So, yeah, I mean, I think the coaches agree with you. Just look what you're seeing. Does it seem like Jaden Ballard's in the mix? No. Jeremy Blake, saving a red shirt for Aaron Nolan. I don't think this is a question. I think you're making a comment, Jeremy. Yeah, but I don't think they think he's going to be here for 5 years. I don't know if they're going to be here next year. I think Ryan Day knows that Julian Sands is his guy. Edric Houston, Ann Arbor Buckeye. Once again, hearing from Ann Arbor Buckeye. Edric Houston has a 7-foot wingspan? Question mark. Yeah, that's what they said. I didn't know that either. He's up next. Looks good out there. He does look good. Edric Houston looks good. Bilal on YouTube. Hey, Dave, did Zen Michalski commit way too many penalties tonight or what? You know, he wasn't in there that long, so if he's committing 2 penalties, obviously that's too many. But I thought he had a couple of like really good blocks. There was one that there was like a long play where I was like 65. That was a good block by Michalski. It's tough to say until you go back and really look at it. I did try to like isolate on the offensive lineman at times tonight. I thought just watching Tegra is fun. By the way, Seth McLaughlin, something that's not getting talked about enough probably. Seth McLaughlin, I haven't seen any bad snaps from him, and that was supposed to be the weak link with Seth McLaughlin's game. Yeah, maybe not so much. Yeah, we can circle back on this. Craig Cross on Facebook. Dave, will Denzel Burke's targeting call be appealed? That was a BS call, he says. Yeah, I'm sure Ohio State appealed. I'm sure they're going to like say something. I mean, because it happened in the first half, he's going to be fine for the Marshall game. I'm sure they will like say this is complete garbage. Even had the rules analyst Dean Blandino, one of the few guys, him and I like Gene Steratore, Mike Pereira's okay. The rest of them are trash. Like, you know, who's that? Bill Lamonier. Most of those TV replay officials guys are trash. But they had Dean Blandino on today, who I actually like. He was like, yeah, that's not targeting. Of course, they still call targeting. And it wasn't called targeting on the field. They blow down to call targeting when it wasn't targeting. Like Ohio State hasn't have enough bull crap targeting calls over the years. I mean, thank goodness this happens in a 56-0 win over Western Michigan, right? Hopefully the replay officials in the command center. By the way, you guys are not in the military. You don't need to call it a command center. You guys are just watching replays of a football game on TV. You don't need to call it a command center, okay? Calm down and just get it right. How about that? I don't care what you call it. Just get the freaking calls right. They talked about, oh, well, we had this command center that was like not affiliated with the Big Ten. Now we have our own command center. So you're still going to flip these calls up? I mean, come on. Unbelievable. First of all, if it was called targeting on the field, it's like, okay, they called it on the field. There's not enough to overturn it. Whatever. For it not to be called that on the field, and them to blow down and then call that when everybody's like, nah, okay, that's obviously not targeting. That running back lowered his head. And And I love that we're talking about this after a 56-point win, so it's not sour grapes. It's just college football replay officials once again showing that nobody is worse at their jobs than college football replay officials. Terrible. Terrible. It's the guy that just keeps saying okay in our chat. That's cool. Okay, you're blocked. Thank you for spamming us. That was fun. John, whatever. I don't know what your name is, but you're gone. You gone. He gone. All right. We're going to hear eventually from Pat. And apparently, I mean, Ryan Day's getting grilled because this press conference is just going forever. No, I'm kidding. Steve said, Will Howard just started. This should be it. I was like, seriously, like, is this like, how long this press conference would go for? No Aaron Noland. No, he's 5th on the depth chart. I was surprised we saw Lincoln Kienholz. We're talking about the 5th string quarterback. Listen, Aaron Noland's going to be, I agree with what Dan Rubin said a couple weeks ago on the podcast, Bucknuts Morning 5. I agree with what Dan said. He said, listen, all 5 of these guys will probably be good college quarterbacks somewhere. All 5 of them. We know Will Howard already is. Just what he did at Kansas State, he was a good college quarterback. Won a Big 12 title. You know, you have people said he would have been probably a 5th, 6th round pick if he left for the. Now he's going to be better than that. I think he'll be a second day pick now, 2nd, 3rd round. His size, his deceptive speed. You know, now with a full year of quarterbacking Ohio State, I think he'll be a second day pick, 2nd or 3rd round. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what Dan said. All 5 of these guys are going to be good college quarterbacks somewhere. Aaron Noland, I don't think it's going to be here because. Do we think that Ryan Day would have brought Julian Sayin in if he knew for sure that Aaron Noland was his guy? Reminds me a lot of Jack Miller and CJ Stroud. They had Jack Miller. And then more information came in on Jack Miller, and Ryan Day was like, get me CJ Stroud. And I don't care if it cost me Jack Miller. It didn't initially. He's like, I don't even care. Like, I want CJ Stroud. But that told me, what did that tell me? He wasn't sold on Jack Miller. He wasn't sold on Aaron Noland, or he wouldn't have wanted Julian Sayin. You could say, well, he's not going to turn Julian Sayin down regardless. Perhaps. But if he was totally sold on Aaron Noland, he's not going to bring in somebody else in that same class. So there you go. I'm getting told right now the press conference is warming up. I always love hearing about this because, like, I'm just doing the show live right after the game ends, and like I don't hear the press conference for years. Like I was like one of these reporters going to the press conference after every game, and now I get to hear from my guys. To hear like what stood out from the press conference after a 56-0 win. Probably nothing that's too scathing. Hopefully not. Spidey, I'm with you here. So you got Spidey on YouTube saying, he says, I'm still not over the 2019 Clemson game because of the replay official. Still one of the Shaun Wade call alone was ridiculous. That was another that wasn't called on the field. The replay official blew down to call that. Trevor Lawrence lowers his head. Yeah, letter of the law. Maybe that was targeting. Still nonsense. But the one we're always going to remember that would show that was the replay official was either highly incompetent or on the take, one of the two. Highly incompetent or on the take, one of the two. Neither of which are good. Gerald Hodges was the replay official. The fumble for the touchdown for Ohio State, Justin Ross catches the ball never moves, takes 3 steps, not 1, not 2, 3 steps, ball never moves, knocked out, returned for a touchdown on the field, replay reverses it. That is still the shadiest thing that I have ever seen in football. And that's saying a lot because I watch the NFL. The shadiest thing I've ever seen in football was that Justin Ross play. Again, if on the field, and again, I give the on-field officials a lot of leeway because, like, it's tough. These guys are big and fast. They're moving fast. And, like, you can get knocked out yourself as an official if you get knocked over. Like, it's tough to do it in real time. All right, so maybe if it was on the field, it was called incomplete. Oh, we thought he was juggling it, got knocked out. Incomplete pass, no fumble, no touchdown. Maybe then, even then, it'd be like, come on, replay needs to get this right. For that to be called a fumble on the field, touchdown, and get to reversed it to get reversed. That was the shadiest thing that I'll ever see in football. Hopefully that's the shadiest thing. If there's anything shadier, that would be extremely shady. Unbelievable. Boise, what's up, Boise? Boise, 17-14, leading the Oregon Ducks, where everybody was like, oh, yeah, they're just as good as Ohio State. Okay. Oregon, very cocky coming into the year. Dan Lanning was extremely cocky at Big Ten Media Days. I also found it interesting, and you can go back and look at my Twitter feed. You can go back and look at this. I found it interesting that USC was flying completely under the radar. People were acting like USC was like UCLA. Well, where's USC? Do you guys even know where it's located? Well, it's in LA. As Deshaun Foster will tell you about UCLA. UCLA's in LA, USC's in LA. But seriously, people are acting like USC was like UCLA, like they were just some scrub team coming into this league. Like, no, they flew completely under the radar. I'm not saying USC is great. I won't be surprised if it's Ohio State USC for the Big Ten championship, because USC's schedule sets up decently. I think Ohio State's going to beat Oregon. I won't be surprised if it's Ohio State USC. It's just very interesting that USC is flying completely under the radar, and Oregon, everybody's just gassing up Oregon like they're just the next best thing in the world. All 5'10" of Dylan Gabriel, everybody's impressed with. And he's a good quarterback, but acting like he's like the number one pick of the draft. If Dylan Gabriel's the number one overall pick of the draft, that's a terrible draft. It's a terrible draft. He's not going to be the number one overall pick. First of all, if it's a quarterback, it's going to be Carson Beck. It ain't going to be Dylan Gabriel. They ain't picking unless it's the Carolina Panthers, they're probably not picking a 5'10" quarterback. Patrick Murphy, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Perfect game for Ohio State, in your opinion?
It's pretty close. I mean, I'm sure we could find things that still need to be improved upon. Will Howard just said that before we left the postgame room. But, I mean, look, you get your first shutout in 5 years. You come out fast scoring like that. You lose a cornerback, bring in a sophomore cornerback, and you don't miss a beat. I mean, the only thing maybe the defense didn't do was turn the ball over. The offense kept scoring into the fourth quarter, which Ryan Day talked about as a positive because he wants these guys to continue to play whenever they're in the game. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, watching it again, there will be things to nitpick, but that was the dominant performance I think most people expected to see last week, and so it's good to see it come out of week 2.
I want to hear from the press conference. What stood out to you from Coach Day, from anything that stood out from the press conference, Patrick?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they were trying to roll guys quickly, so I only heard part of Coach Day before they started bringing the players. But, I thought this week Ryan was very serious, I guess would be the word. It just seemed like he was very businesslike, I guess is how I'd say it. And I think that was to send a bit of a message. I don't know that for sure, but he seemed satisfied today. Obviously there's a lot of work to do, but talking to some of the players, we talked to Seth McLaughlin, Cody Simon, who was happy to be back, as you might imagine, Sonny Styles. They all emphasized that, yes, this is an off week that they're going into, but they all said this, an improvement week. And so it sounds like they're going to put in a lot of work this week. Obviously they'll get next weekend off. But a lot of teams, I think, coming out of a big shutout win like this might think, hey, that was pretty good. We could take it easy this week, kind of enjoy the week. This team isn't doing that. And Cody Simon said, we're taking it game by game, but we know it's coming down the road. We want to get to where we want to go. And so they're focused on building off of what was already an impressive performance.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are focused on the offense, rightfully so.
Sure.
You score 56 points. You rack up all of the yards, about 700 yards. Man, this defense, I think they're the best defense in college football. 99 yards total offense for Western Michigan, 5 in the second half.
Yeah. I mean, it was an all-around very solid performance. And look, I think that when we're talking about the offense, the things that we didn't necessarily see or maybe didn't see up to the standard that we hoped for last week, you saw it today, right? The offensive line got pushed. There were holes for those running backs to run through. Will Howard was rarely pressured. This was how I expected this offense to look, more balanced. It wasn't just the passing attack. Jeremiah Smith builds on that week 1 performance, which I thought was important. I think everyone expected him to, but obviously you have a first game like that. Some players would maybe take it easy this week. He clearly did not. Obviously that 70-yard touchdown or whatever it was certainly helps the stats, but I thought he looked really good again. Other guys got involved in the passing game. And then I think most importantly, you're able to get the backups in early in the or late middle third quarter. And not only the second string, but you get Julian Sayin in, and then you get Lincoln Keenholz in. And Julian Sayin throws a touchdown to Bennett Christian, who didn't get to play last year. And so I think just everything went the Buckeyes' way, and I mean that in they earned it by what they've done to continue to improve. And I think it's exactly what you wanted to see.
I want to get your thoughts from around college football today. Huge day.
Yeah.
Started with Texas, Michigan, of course. Texas dominating Michigan. Penn State had to survive Bowling Green. Notre Dame loses to Northern Illinois. Right now, Boise State leads Oregon 20-14 with 2 seconds left in the first half. On and on and on. Your thoughts on the day that is college football?
It's funny how these days happen, right? Like, it's not just one upset or one close game. There seems to be days, and it'll happen again at points this season, where teams that you expect to just go out and take care of business don't. I mean, Notre Dame specifically, to me, you go and win at Texas A&M, and everyone thinks this is a big team or a big win, and it was. And, Notre Dame, and they're right there, and that's going to be the number 5 team in the college football playoff and all this talk. And then they go out and lay an egg. I believe it was at home, right, to whoever it was there. And, the Michigan-Texas game, I mean, I'm sure that's the one Buckeye fans want to talk about. I don't know what is the takeaway more, how good Texas was, and I don't even think they showed as much as they could have, or just how far Michigan has fallen. And, we can talk not sign stealing, but just that team is nowhere near as talented as the team last year. And I think we knew that, but I expected the defense to at least keep them involved in that game. And it wasn't the case. I didn't see a ton of the other ones. I saw bits and pieces of the Iowa game. I didn't see how it ended until after I was down on the field here. What other games were there that, which other ones were surprising that you mentioned, Dave?
We talked about Michigan. We talked about Penn State.
Penn State.
Notre Dame.
Penn State I had that one on a second screen before I left to come down here. That I did not see coming at all. I thought, again, another team that went on the road, not as big of a win as Notre Dame, but a road win against West Virginia. And then you come home and, I mean, I thought they were going to lose that game. I honestly did at points. And, I don't think that this necessarily means that Penn State isn't a good team. I think these games happen. What I really think this is a reminder of, and something that Coach Day and the rest of the staff can use, is like, you just got to be careful. You just never know when guys are going to have off days. You've got to bring it. And I think that message has been delivered based on some of the things I was saying earlier, but you just don't know when one team's going to have it. And maybe there's a day when you don't quite have it, and you've got to bring it each day. And I don't just mean game day. You got to do it all through the week to be ready for these games, because those other guys are scholarship players too, and they want to win. And, I know that's a bit cliche, but I think you saw it today that it can be problematic at times. And if you're Ohio State, you want to avoid that as much as possible this year.
Great stuff out of Patrick Murphy. Thank you for joining the show, Patrick. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. See you guys.
Great stuff from Patrick. Let's welcome in Steve Helwagen. Steve, good to see you, my friend.
Yep, good to be here. I got a little bit of a technical problem, so I can keep this short and sweet. I could just tell you that's about as complete an ass kicking as you're ever going to see. And, that reminded me of like Tressel playing New Mexico State, beating them 45-0 or something. And New Mexico State doesn't even get 100 yards. That's what we saw tonight with Western Michigan. They were never in this thing at any point. And, the problem is you don't play next week. And you got 2 weeks of people patting these guys on the back and telling them the greatest things since sliced bread. And, did you see Notre Dame got beaten? Michigan got beaten. Nobody's beating you guys, all this bull crap that they're going to have to put up with here for the next 2 weeks. So, Marshall, I wouldn't think Marshall lost to Virginia Tech today, 31-14. So I don't think they're the team that's going to be the one that brings down this juggernaut, as our friend Tim May would say, 2 G's in juggernaut. But, this was about as complete as it gets, and they're going to play about 10 teams better than this the rest of the way. So, this and 50 cents, this and $6 will get you a designer coffee downtown.
What stood out from the press conference? I'm obviously have not seen it yet, so I'm relying on you and Patrick. What stood out from the press conference?
Donovan Jackson wanted to play, and I think they just realized there was no upside to him playing in this meaningless game. And I think that one of the things Coach Day said was he was challenging people as they were going into the game to earn the right to play, to play hard and earn the right to play. And he liked the way that when people went into the game, that they continued to play hard all the way to the last play of the game. And we saw some of those young guys making plays out there late in the game and how excited they were to be a part of this finally, to have their opportunity. And I think that's what tonight represented, I think, for a lot of people, was the opportunity for a lot of guys to get their first face time here at Ohio Stadium. I mean, Julian Sand came in and, what a thrill for him, throws his first career touchdown pass, just as easy as 1, 2, 3. Well, I got news for you. It's never going to be any easier than it was tonight. So that's kind of the way I come away from this, is that, this as I said, this is the worst team you're going to play all year. And, along with last week, and now the real challenges are going to start.
I want to go around before I let you out of here. I want to get your thoughts. Big day in college football. I know you're working, but you got a chance to see Texas, Michigan, some other games. Penn State had to survive against Bowling Green. Notre Dame, as we're watching the Ohio State game, Notre Dame loses at home to Northern Illinois. Right now, Oregon's down at halftime against Boise State. Just your thoughts from what is a big day in college football today, Steve?
Well, it just shows that you got to bring your A game when you get out there on the field. You got to bring your A game. You cannot just show up and throw your helmets out on the field and expect to beat a lot of these teams. It just isn't going to happen for you. I saw some tweets, I thought NIL was supposed to solve something like Notre Dame against Northern Illinois, but it didn't. So, it wasn't like Notre Dame played a great game last week at Texas A&M. They just ended up with more points when the clock hit 0,
right,
more than they beat Texas A&M. Which
it's not like Texas A&M's good.
Any good either, yeah. So
right.
It's like, they had the syndrome that I'm talking about here, that for a whole week everybody said, "Oh, you're great," and they believed it. And they went out there, and from the first minute of the game, Northern Illinois was, right there with them on every play, and they never gained any separation at all. So that's when you're in for it. And Michigan, we could talk for hours on the Michigan phenomenon, and there'll be a 30 for 30 one day. Let's just say that. And the truth is going to come out. And I challenged our friend Dave Briggs. He needs to take the same from the Toledo Blade. Whenever he writes from the Big House today, it's like he needs to have the same tone that Rick Riley had on the cover of Sports Illustrated when all the steroid stuff came out with Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire. We were all duped in the summer of '98 by what we thought was something legitimate, and it was far from it. So we see what it really looks like out in the light of day.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I got to hand it to Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson going the entire game without mentioning the cheating scandal one time. Now, that is towing the company line if I've ever seen it. To go the entire game without mentioning it once, wow. That's ignoring the elephant in the room.
They're company men, that is for sure.
No doubt about it.
Sure.
They played it today. There's no doubt about that. Steve Helwagen, you're a great man. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Everybody be good. Be safe, and we will see you next time.
I'll see you at the beer stube.
That's it. I'm hoping to get last call. We'll see.
There you go. We'll see Steve at the beer stube. They're closing the beer stube. Steve's not happy about that. Nobody's happy about that. They paved Paradise to put up a parking lot. The irony there is there's going to be no parking lot. They're putting this apartment complex in. They're taking the beer stube out. They're putting this apartment complex in. You know how much parking they're putting in? None. So good luck, everybody, in this apartment. It's on High Street. No parking. It's supposed to be for students that don't have cars. Still, though, they're putting in this 13-story apartment building where the beer stube is on High Street. No parking at all. So Steve is Steve's largely kept the beer stube in business for the last several years. So, love Steve. The beer stube. What's the beer stube? It's the beer stube. S-T. I see. Is German the same rules? It's I, right? I-U-B. Yeah. S-T-I-E. Yeah. I before E. Even in German, right? Yeah. Beer stube. Stube. There you go. S-T-U. Okay. There's no I in it. Okay. I don't know what I'm talking. B-I-E-R. Yeah, there is. B-I-E-R. Stube. S-T-U-B-E. There you go. Thank you very much. Beer stube. Aaron Klatt. I got Joel Klatt. Steve's talking about Klatt's a joke. Aaron Scott was good. Larry on YouTube. Aaron Scott was impressive. Yeah, I mentioned that at the very beginning of the show. I haven't talked about that enough. Aaron Scott, he's going to be a player here. There's no doubt about that. They're so damn deep at corner. They don't need him this year, but he definitely is going to be a dude. Let's get to some. I have some questions. Like sit here. Star Yakov on YouTube. Worst offense, Notre Dame or Michigan? Michigan for sure. Notre Dame at least has a quarterback. Is he great? No. Is he Davis Warren? No. Notre Dame's offense definitely better than Michigan. Michigan has one of the worst offenses in college football. I don't even know if Texas is that good. Michigan is just terrible. Jason on Facebook. How do I feel about Will Howard's arm strength? On deep passes, he seems to underthrow the wide receiver, especially J.J. Smith tonight. Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. I mean, he underthrew him by like 10 yards almost. J.J. stopped. It still looked like he might get it because he's so freaking good, but it was underthrown by a lot. I almost said it was underthrown by 5 yards. If you're talking about hitting him in stride, it's probably underthrown by 10 yards. I don't think it was just underthrown by 5 yards. So I'm with you. That is a concern. Overall, I like Will Howard. I've said this all along, so I don't want to move the goalpost. He doesn't need to be elite. He needs to be good. Overall, I like what I'm seeing. He's a leader of men. He's poised. Overall, he's accurate. Deep ball, I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm with you on that. Overall, I like that he can run the football, but I'm with you. I hear what you're saying. Let's go back to the book of face. Deontay. Is Jeremiah Smith our number one receiver? Fire emoji. Still love the depth at wide receiver, though. Yeah, I said all offseason, okay, he's going to have a great year, but Emeka's the number one. I was wrong. Emeka is great, but like his number, he's the number two, okay? Emeka's fantastic. He's the number two in your program and on the wide receiver depth chart because Jeremiah Smith is that dude, okay? He's a 6'3", 215-pound Jamar Chase. He's Jamar Chase, 3 inches taller. Keep hearing the Julio Jones comparisons. That's great. Julio Jones, fantastic. Again, Jeremiah Smith reminds me of Jamar Chase, especially after he catches the ball. He looks a lot like Jamar Chase after he catches the ball. I don't say that lightly because Jamar Chase looks like he's like the best running back in the NFL after he catches the ball. That's how electric he is. So I don't say that lightly. By the way, Houday tomorrow to my friends. And go Browns. If you're in Columbus, come by the casino, Hollywood Casino tomorrow. We'll be there. We'll have a watch party for your Cleveland Browns if you're a Browns fan. Browns, Cowboys, 4:25. Bengals before that, 1 o'clock. Come out to the casino, Hollywood Casino tomorrow. I'll be there with my buddy Scotty Vegas. We'll be doing a radio show for 97.1 The Fan on the money. So come out to Hollywood Casino tomorrow. Bengals, Pats, and then after that, Browns, Cowboys. And then we're going to have a watch party. Like I said, you can win free prizes. Come out to the watch party for the Browns, Cowboys after the Bengals beat the Patriots. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think this is what you were saying, Deontay. I'm with you. I think Jeremiah Smith is the number one and Emeka is the number two. And, you know, business is good when Carnell Tate's number 3. Goodness gracious. Brandon Ennis can barely get on the field. He's number 4. Unbelievable what Brian Hartline's been able to do. Let's get to some last minute. Yeah. Chris on YouTube. Dave, J-Book tweeted out that Lincoln Keenholz would be QB1 right now in Ann Arbor. He ain't lying. Does anybody think that Davis Warren is better than Lincoln Keenholz? I did not see this. Kevin on YouTube asked me, Dave, tell me you saw Carlos Lockwood when Day decided to pass on 4th and 1 with sand instead of run it. Hilarious. I didn't see that. This is one of the many things I'll go back and watch. The things we miss live on a football game. I'm sure you guys are like me. Like you miss a lot, whether you're especially if you're at the game. But if you're going to watch it on TV, you go back and watch it again. You miss a lot of stuff, especially stuff like that, stuff that happens like on the sidelines that you're watching other stuff. Will Starr is comparing Jeremiah Smith to T.O., Terrell Owens. I haven't heard that. See, I've heard a lot of Jeremiah, or I've heard a lot of Julio Jones. I've even said A.J. Green. But now the more I watch him, he just, especially after the catch, he reminds me so much of Jamar Chase. Even after he goes out of bounds, the way he just palms the ball and just kind of has it like, I don't know. He just reminds me so much of Jamar Chase. Yeah, Jason, I agree. Jason on Facebook, the running game showed up. It sure did. That was good to see. I mean, they completely just demolished a decent team. Eddie comparing Jeremiah to Calvin Johnson, little Megatron. Yeah, I mean, listen, we all can agree on one thing, right? This kid's a stud. Is he going to live up to the hype was my question entering spring. It exceeds it. I didn't even say that coming into the season. I was like, oh, my gosh. My question was answered in the spring. And then you hear Ryan Day like talking about it during the offseason, like at Big Ten Media Days, for example. He just wanted to biting his tongue when asked about it. He could tell he wanted to gush about him. It was like, I just want to wait until he actually plays a game before I gush about him. He didn't say gush, but I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, this kid's a stud. I mean, it's unbelievable all the great wide receivers that have come through here. In the recent past, he's the best as far as anybody that's been a true freshman. Garrett Wilson played a decent amount as a true freshman, especially late in the year. That catch against Clemson in the semifinals. He had a big game against Michigan too, Garrett Wilson did in 2019 as a true freshman. Chris Olave late in his freshman year. 2 touchdowns against Michigan. Had a touchdown, I believe, in the Big Ten championship game. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a true freshman. 3 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl. Didn't really play before that because Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson sat out the Rose Bowl. Jeremiah Smith's the only one to come right in and start. He's an absolute stud. You know, we've seen it. We saw it with David Boston. If we're going to go way back, we're going with David Boston in 96, came right in and started as a true freshman. Chris Carter in 84 came right in and started as a true freshman. It's different these days, my friends, as we all know. It's tough. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't see the field again until like the 13th game of his freshman season. Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't see the field. Jeremiah Smith is out there beating out quality wide receivers like Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis and Bryson Rogers. And yeah, Carnell Tate's a starter. I'm just saying, if there was somebody else, I mean, clearly Jeremiah Smith he's probably ahead of Emeka too. It's unbelievable. It's so much fun. And we're probably not talking about the defense enough. It's so much fun seeing Caleb Downs out there. I joked on Twitter, like, nice hit, Mike Doss. I mean, Caleb Downs. Number 2, D-O, and it ends with an S. Seen that before. I like that. A safety wearing that number 2. Yeah. Jason's talking about Arvell Reese. I love Arvell Reese. He continues to earn more and more playing time. It was one of those things like, I was told Arvell Reese, the future is bright for him. Might be a developmental year, but keep your eye on Arvell Reese. It's not a developmental year for Arvell Reese. He's in the plans this year. Jeremy, he says, Dave, compare JJ to David Boston. Jeremiah Smith is a lot more explosive. And David Boston was explosive. If they, like, for example, David Boston is a freshman, Jeremiah Smith right now, if they would run the 40, Jeremiah Smith would win easily. And David Boston was an absolute unit. It's nothing against David Boston. David Boston, early first-round pick, was very, very good in the NFL until he got hurt. Was good right away at Ohio State. Again, the list of guys that come right in and start at Ohio State on good teams is short at wide receiver, on good teams. David Boston, Chris Carter, Jeremiah Smith. I mean, to come in and start as a true freshman it's tough sledding. We can go through the list of guys that it took them a long time to get on the field, and they were really good. I mean, Santonio Holmes redshirted in 2002. Red-shirted. He was a Super Bowl MVP. Santonio Holmes red-shirted as a true freshman. Didn't need to. Ended up leaving as a fourth-year junior anyway, but whatever. My point is it's tough seeing play a lot as a true freshman at wide receiver here, let alone start right away. He is a stud. Basic Intuition on YouTube. What about Gabe Powers? I love Gabe Powers. I love that he wears the 36. Steve brings up Ted Ginn. Yeah, I mean, but I said on a good team. Yeah, Ted, I'm sure he started right away in 04. 04, not good, though. They were okay. They finished strong. They beat Michigan, beat Les Miles in his last game at Oklahoma State, shot Ted Ginn. So, yeah, you can include Teddy Ginn in there. You just don't see many guys as true freshmen come in and start a wide receiver on a good team. 84, Chris Carter, Rose Bowl, Big Ten champs. Not Rose Bowl champs, went to the Rose Bowl. Big Ten champs. Lost to USC in a very close game in the Rose Bowl. You know, obviously, 96, David Boston won the Rose Bowl. So it's tough on a good team. But, yeah, I mean, Teddy Ginn, no doubt about it, the best kick returner in the history of Ohio State. Yeah. Still give Justin Zwick credit. Justin Zwick was out there, could barely walk, trying to, play quarterback. Troy was suspended. Justin's out there, he pulls his hamstring early. And Teddy Ginn ends up playing a lot of quarterback. They blow out Oklahoma State. Good times. Speaking of good times, thank you for joining me for this good time. I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you to my guests, Heath Schneider, my man in Amsterdam. Thank you to Heater. Thank you to Patrick Murphy, live from Ohio Stadium. Thank you to Steve Helwagen, live from Ohio Stadium. Go on Bucknuts, read their stuff. Thanks to Heater. Thanks to Patrick. Thanks to Steve. Thanks to all of you. Very, very big audience here. Appreciate that very much. Enjoy the off week. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think we just would rather have Ohio State football next week, but there is an off week. We're still going to have interviews this coming week, we're told. So there's still going to be Ohio State football coverage, and we'll be with you again on What We Learned Live 2 weeks after the Marshall game. And, of course, we'll be with you Monday through Friday the next couple of weeks on the Bucknuts Morning 5, myself and Dan Rubin and our cast of characters. Thanks again to Heater, Patrick, and Steve. Thanks to all of you. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope everyone enjoys the rest of your night and enjoys the rest of your weekend. Go Bucks.